Hello and welcome again to Doing Life with Itsy on a Bitsy Budget. Today we're going to discuss quilts and I'll share my collection with you. Let's get started. All right, here we are in the spare bedroom. We're going to look at my quilt collection. That's how we're going to start this. A couple of these quilts I'll point out to you because they were just quilt tops that I had quilted. So we're going to talk about those kind of options so you can kind of get an idea of what the cost would be and some things you can do with old quilt tops. All right, here, Jennifer, if you just want to show them. This particular quilt and this quilt came from just a top that I bought. And I have several others, but since they're sitting here, I thought I'd point those out. Now, when you're buying a quilt, it's really anything that you like, whatever color scheme. Sometimes I'll see an orange quilt and I'll want that so I can put it out at fall, or something with a lot more yellow than I usually look for. So to me, they're all beautiful. I love the colors in quilts. I like how they're made. They've been around for 100 years and they're probably going to last us another 100. Okay, let's start right here. These are quilt tops. So I'm going to show you. These will run you at markets, not necessarily in an antique store, but at markets and all, from $15 to probably around $40. You can get an old quilt top. This is doubled, so you can see the size is pretty big. It would fit a double or a queen size bed. And you don't really need to be concerned about that because you can always make a throw out of it or use a smaller quilt on a bed because you're just going to pull it up over your bedspread like this. So this quilt top is feed sack material. I personally like buying old quilts that are made from feed sack because you can bleach feed sack. It will not change color. I don't know what they used in their dyes back in the day, but they definitely knew what they were doing. So a lot of times when I buy a quilt, if it has some stains and stuff, and I'm going to show you one that was really dirty that I washed and tell you how I washed it, you don't really need to worry about it. Let me show you a couple of other pieces I've got. This is a totally different pattern. Again, this has feed sack on it. I liked it. I thought, oh, that's bright and cheerful. Again, it's about the same size as that one, probably a double or a queen size. But again, if it was a twin, it wouldn't matter at all because I'll use them on, other places when you're sitting on the couch. Here's another one. This is a block style quilt, I think, and I liked the colors in it. So I got a good deal. This was $15. I remember buying it, and I bought it at a market. So a lot of times when you're at the fall markets and places you go, you can get some very nice quilt tops. These I have not had quilted yet, but we're going to talk about how I've done that in the past. Here are some pieces of quilts. I was recently visiting my daughter in Idaho, and we went to an antique store, and there was a bag of these for sale. I sent some to my daughter-in-law in Guam, and she has just started quilting. She's doing a great job. And I sent her these for her birthday so that she could make something out of them. I'll show you some of the things I've made out of little pieces like this, or I've had made. My cousin really quilts, so she's my go-to sewer. All right, so I want to show you this quilt. This quilt, I went to an estate sale, and at the estate sale, it was not done by a company, it was done by an individual. And this quilt was just sitting there, and it was probably never washed. It looked so dirty and dingy. But I started looking at it, and it was hand quilted. All this beautiful embroidery work was on here. And I realized underneath all that dirt, this quilt was really in good shape. So knowing the fabric, I knew that I could come home, put borax, Dawn, and bleach in it, and it was probably going to look great. And look at how good it came out. I've bleached it, I've cleaned it, I've used it 100 times and rewashed it. I wash all my quilts after everybody uses them. Each person uses them, so they'll be clean for the next guest. So I do a lot of washing with my quilts. This turned out to be a great buy for me. And they are out there. You have to look around. Now, I wanted to show you this quilt. I don't know if you can see it. I bought this recently at an estate sale. Now, I paid $25 for this. It's a very old handmade quilt. In some antique stores, you are going to pay $150, $200 or more, depending on what part of the United States you're in, as to what type of quilts prices that you are going to encounter. Some places linens are really expensive, other states they're very cheap. This was a great buy, and the reason is, if you can come closer, it has a lot of imperfections. Now this side is pretty good, as you can see, but when I turn it to this side, there are spots here that have been worn. You know, I don't really care about that. I buy these quilts if they're not very expensive, and I use them in many different things. I'll put them on the bed even with the tears on them, and I will put them on my swing. Like I have a red one that I bought at a thrift store, and I'll put it on there, and outside I have a swing for the holidays, you know, like Christmas or even 4th of July. I'll set it on that swing. Sometimes I put them on the railing of my front porch. So you can take these that you get at a good buy that aren't perfect. If it bothers you, fold it to the good side and just use it for decoration. But they're still just as good to use on your bed. All right, when we come over here, these are quilt tops that I had made into quilts. So we have 3 of them. They're very beautiful. They look really good. My cousin usually does it for me, or always does it for me, I should say, Sandy. What I've given her in the past, you have your front side like this, and then you're going to put a batting in there, a piece of like padding, and then you're going to put a back on this quilt. Sometimes I've given her their new old stock muslin sheets that you can buy on eBay or Etsy, and she uses that for the backing. Sometimes we just buy a backing, and you can use whatever you want for the bottom side. It can be plain, it could be any fabric there is. And then you bind it here. So you send it to the quilter in your town. There'll be a quilter. All you have to do is Google it. And the quilting is just a little stitching that's in here. And so they come out very nice. I would say after you buy the quilt top, you have it quilted, you're probably in for $150, I would say, is about an average price, depending on how big it is. If you get a real big quilt, it's going to be more than that. But what you get is you get a little bit more durable quilt made out of the same topping. Because if you look at this quilting on this particular quilt that was hand quilted, it's big, the stitches in between. On here, it's very small, so it keeps that together better. I don't know, it's very hard to see maybe, but just look at your quilts and you'll see. These are some other examples of what you can do with the quilt tops. So if you look at this piece, what my cousin did here is she put this on a white piece of fabric, and she stitched it down all the way across, and then she just quilted it herself. She put that for the backing, like I said, any type of fabric back there. And then she put the binding around it. Again, here's a pot holder. That's another pot holder. And this is a piece I know you've seen in my laundry room. I keep it under the container that has the rags in it. This was just, it was like an ovalish, messed up kind of top I got, but I liked it. And she just cut it in a square. She added a backing for me, aprons, and binded it. And it turned out beautiful. That's what I had to talk to you today about with quilts, and I hope you enjoyed our conversation in my collection, and I hope that it inspires you to get out and buy some of these old quilts, or use the ones that your grandmother bought you. If they're not perfect, it's okay. I appreciate you listening to me today. I hope you have a great day. Please like, subscribe, and share. That was a tongue twister, and I'll see you next time.